Good evening, folks. Today I'm just going to go ahead and run through a quick PowerPoint for you for chapter 25. So then that way you guys have a little bit more reference to go ahead and cover here. So if you haven't already read chapter 25 and taken some notes, you're probably going to go ahead and do that. I'll go ahead and I'll post the PowerPoint, sorry, to the board for today. So then that way you guys can go ahead and pull my notes off of there too as well if you'd like to. Okay. And if you don't know how to pull the notes or you don't know where to find them, just let me know. So some learning outcomes here. Your first one is going to be to describe the structures of the heart and the function of each. You'll also need to be able to explain the cardiac cycle, including the cardiac conduction system. Okay. In other words, what gets the heart pumping? Sorry, my dog's coughing, or I don't even know. Your third objective is going to be to differentiate among the different types of blood vessels and their functions. Few more objectives or learning outcomes here. Things you're going to want to listen and pay attention to are going to be compare the various types of circulation, also explaining blood pressure and tell how it's controlled. You should also be able to describe the causes, signs, and symptoms and treatments of various diseases and disorders of the cardiovascular system. So your first slide here is going to go ahead and help you with your learning outcome number 1 to help you describe the structures of the heart and the functions of each. So the heart is a muscular organ about the size of a closed fist that functions as the body's circulatory pump. So what happens is it takes deoxygenated blood from the veins and delivers it to the lungs for oxygenation before pumping it to the various arteries. Your heart wall, as in this little cutout here that I've put in here for you, goes ahead and layers the heart wall for you. So we're going to go ahead and start with the epicardium. This is going to be important, guys. You're going to need to know this. You're probably going to want to write this down. You have your myocardium, which is kind of like your middle layer. And then, of course, you have your endocardium. Okay. Your epicardium is the outermost layer of that heart wall. See there? It's that thin layer of serous membrane helping to lubricate and protect the outside of your heart. Your myocardium is the muscular middle layer of the heart, and this makes up the majority of thickness or the mass of the heart, right? So myo meaning muscle, right? Cardium, cardi meaning heart, muscular heart, okay? Kind of thing. You guys need to learn how to break up these words and put them together to form medical terms. Your myocardium is going to be responsible for pumping blood, okay? And your endocardium is the squamous endothelium layer or the inner layer that lines the inside of the heart. It is smooth and keeps blood from sticking to the inside of the heart or from forming blood clots, okay? Really important stuff, folks. All right, continuing on with the structures of the heart and the function of each. So to prevent blood flow from flowing backwards or regurgitating back into the heart after it's, because it's like a one-way system. You can only go in one way and out one way, kind of a thing. What happens is we have what's called atrioventricular valves, and they're located in the middle of the heart between the atria and the ventricles. And these little chambers allow blood to flow from the atria into the ventricles. The AV valve on the right side of the heart is called the tricuspid valve because it is made up of 3 cusps, right? Tri or cusp for tricuspid. These are similar to like flaps that separate and allow blood to pass through but nothing to pass back. Okay, so the AV valve on the left side of the heart is called the mitral valve or the bicuspid valve because it has 2 cusps, bi meaning 2, right? The AV valves are attached on the ventricular side to tough strings called chordae tendineae, which pull on the AV valves to keep them from folding backwards and allowing blood to regurgitate past them. The semilunar valves, named for the crescent moon shape of their crusts. So if you see here, it looks like a little moon shaped kind of a cusp there. This is, like I said, named after the crescent moon shape. This is located between the ventricles and the arteries that carry blood away from the heart. The semilunar valve on the right side of the heart is called the pulmonary valve because it prevents backflow of blood from the pulmonary trunk into the right ventricle. Your semilunar valve on the left side of the heart is the aortic valve. And this is named for the fact that it prevents the aorta from regurgitating blood back into the left ventricle. So these semilunar valves are smaller than the AV valves and do not have chordae tendineae to hold them in place. Instead, the cusp of the semilunar valves are cup-shaped and catch regurgitating blood. Your objective 2 here is the cardiac cycle. So this is going to help you, your learning outcome, explaining the cardiac cycle and including the cardiac conduction system. So many factors are going to influence your cardiac cycle, and this is going to include anything from exercise or parasympathetic nerves, sympathetic nerves, body temperature, as well as potassium and calcium ions. The cardiac control center is located in the medulla oblongata. One beat makes up one cardiac cycle with all heart chambers contracting and then relaxing. During the systole phase, or like when we're taking blood pressure, the top number, okay, or that first sound that we hear, that's the right ventricle receiving impulses from the Purkinje fibers and contracting. Under control of the bundle of His, the atrioventricular valves close and the semilunar valves open. The deoxygenated blood is then pumped into the pulmonary artery. The pulmonary valve prevents the blood from flowing back into the right ventricle. The pulmonary artery carries the blood to the lungs, where it picks up oxygen and is returned to the left atrium of the heart by the pulmonary veins. In the diastole period, or diastolic, right, when we're thinking of blood pressure, our bottom number, okay, what happens is the semilunar valves close and the atrioventricular valves open. Blood from the pulmonary veins fills the left atrium. Blood from the vena cava fills the right atrium. The SA node contracts, and this triggers the atria to contract. The left atrium empties blood into the left ventricle. The mitral valve prevents oxygenated blood from flowing back into the left atrium. So your normal heart sounds are called lub dub, okay? Lub and dub. And this happens with the closing of the valves. Abnormal heart sounds or murmurs are a blowing, whooshing, or like a rasping sound heard during the heartbeat. The sound is caused by the rough blood flow through the heart valves. So your learning outcome 3 here, differentiate among the different types of blood vessels and their functions. Okay, so your arteries carry blood away from the heart. The largest main artery is going to be called your aorta. Smaller arteries called arterioles move capillary beds that branch among cells and into capillary beds that branch among cells and tissues. And then we have what's called capillaries. Your capillaries carry blood away from the body and exchange nutrients, waste, and oxygen with tissues at a cellular level. So C for capillaries, C for cellular. That's a good way to think of it, okay? Capillaries are one layer of cells and allowing for diffusion. Veins bring blood back to the heart and drain blood from organs and limbs. Veins and arteries have two more tunics surrounding the endothelium. The middle tunica media is composed of smooth muscle that regulates blood flow, while the outer tunica externa is connective tissues that support blood vessels. The hepatic portal system are veins of the intestines which carry blood from the digestive tract to the liver. All right, so now we're going to get into objective 4 here, comparing the various types of circulation. So we have, with the heart, we have various types of circulation. We have pulmonary circulation, systemic circulation, and coronary circulation. Circulation is involved with the destination of the blood. Okay, the primary distinction between the pulmonary and systemic systems is that the systemic circulation runs to and from the body cells. Okay, pulmonary circulation, however, runs to and from the oxygen exchange surfaces of the lung. Each circulatory subsystem forms a loop, and the two are connected by the heart. The coronary circulation is blood that goes first into the coronary arteries and supplies the organ with nutrients to keep it in top function in order to supply the remainder of the body. So I'm going to go ahead and pop, oops, let me see if I can go back, maybe not. So you'll notice here, this one here is going to be your systemic circulation. And notice that it runs through the body, and this helps with the circulation or distribution of waste, nutrients, etc. Okay. Now you have your pulmonary function over here on the right bottom here. And so this is that blood flow collecting oxygenated blood to then be pushed out from the heart throughout the body into systemic circulation. Makes sense? And then, of course, your coronary circulation is how we get the heart, what gets started in the heart in order to make it function so that the rest of this functions. Make sense? All right. So your fifth learning outcome here is going to be to help you explain blood pressure and tell how it is controlled. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about blood pressure now. So there's many factors that go ahead and affect your blood pressure. Okay, so this could be anything from cardiac output to how much blood volume there is, vasoconstriction or vasodilation, okay, widening or constricting, blood viscosity. So viscosity means the thickness of something, okay? So in this instance, blood thickness, okay? Um, Starling's law states that the strength of the heart's systolic contraction is directly proportional to its diastolic expansion, with the result that under normal conditions, the heart is going to pump out of the right atrium all of the blood returned to it without letting any backup into the veins. Baroreceptors provide an input signal for a reflex controlling and stabilizing blood pressure. If pressure rises, baroreceptors are stimulated and changes are brought about to reduce that pressure. Conversely, decreases in the blood pressure are also limited by the baroreceptor reflex. Okay, that's how it's controlled, the baroreceptors. So your objective 6 is to be able to describe or discuss common diseases and disorders of the cardiovascular system. And while there are many, we're going to go through a few here. We got hypertension, murmurs, dysrhythmias, stenosis, angina, coronary artery disease or CAD, atherosclerosis, myocardial infarction or an MI as it's known. It's pretty much a heart attack. Okay. So hypertension or high blood pressure is known as a silent killer because it lacks any really noticeable symptoms. Okay. A heart murmur may also be barely audible as its valves experience some variations in their closings. With an abnormal heart rhythm, the heart may be too fast or too slow or irregular. And so that'll get you, of course, if it's going too fast or too slow, your heart might be overworking, etc. Okay. Dysrhythmias may be caused by stenosis, or in other words, narrowing of a valve. Okay. Angina is chest pain resulting from the lack of oxygen. Discomfort serves as a warning that a more serious condition may be developing. Coronary artery disease, also known as atherosclerosis, happens when fatty deposits accumulate in the arteries as a result of too much glucose in the blood. A myocardial infarction, or MI, is also known as a heart attack and is caused by the lack of the oxygen to the heart, and this causes permanent damage, of course, to your cardiac muscle. Continuing on with diseases and disorders, we have aneurysm, endocarditis, myocarditis, pericarditis, congestive heart failure, or CHF, mitral valve prolapse, MVP, and thrombolysis or embolus. Varicose veins are also a coronary disorder. So an aneurysm is going to occur when a weakened arterial wall balloons out because of internal pressure, right? So it kind of creates like that little balloon. And then when it ruptures, the rupture of an aneurysm is very life-threatening emergency. And then you get into your CVS or your CVAs, I'm sorry, cerebral vascular accidents or strokes kind of a thing, okay? Inflammation of the lining of the heart. Remember, as we learned, endocardium is the lining of the heart. So endocarditis is the inflammation of the heart muscle, right? So endo meaning the lining of the heart, right? And then itis, heart is in there, card, and then itis is inflammation of, right? So that word put together is the inflammation of the cardiac muscle, kind of a thing, pretty much, okay? So inflammation of the heart muscle is myocarditis. Inflammation of the sac around the heart is pericarditis. And these inflammations generally stem from a bacterial or a viral cause usually. Your congestive heart failure, CHF, develops slowly as your heart weakens to a point where it can no longer pump enough blood to meet the body's needs. Your mitral valve prolapse occurs as the mitral valve slips into the left atrium during systole, and this allows blood to flow back into the atrium instead of emptying properly into the ventricle. Thrombophlebitis is a blood clot and blocking blood flow to a vein. When a piece of the clot breaks off, this is called an embolus, and it may move through the circulatory system. It may become lodged either in a lung, in the heart, mostly in the brain sometimes, and this possibly causes pulmonary embolisms as well in the lungs, heart attacks, and then of course your CVAs and strokes. Varicose veins are twisted blood vessels commonly seen in your legs. When occurring in the rectum, they are called hemorrhoids. And that is pretty much your chapter 25 in a nutshell. Here is just like a little bit of an overview. So your heart has the 4 chambers and they are separated by the valves. You're going to want to know the 4 chambers and the names of each valve. You're going to want to know how the blood flows through the chart. What is the path that the blood takes as it travels through the heart? Your cardiac cycle is made up of 1 complete heartbeat, right? Lub-dub. Blood vessels are going to be your arteries, arterioles, which are just smaller arteries, your veins, venules, and capillaries. And these transport blood to and from the heart in various instances for various reasons. Your pulmonary, systemic, coronary circulations are pretty much the ways that the heart moves the blood through the body. The blood pressure is the amount of force exerted onto the arteries as the blood flows through the vessels, and that's what we're measuring when we're taking blood pressure. Your cardiac and blood diseases are very serious conditions, and we went through a few of those, so it'll be a good idea to look up their treatments and know what sort of signs and symptoms to be aware of, just in case for some reason or another something happens in front of you one day and you might have to assist. So you guys know where to find me, ejaramillo.pmi.edu. If you have any questions, hit me up in the chat. I'm looking forward to hearing from you guys.